So thank you everyone for inviting me today to join you. I am, as Rick mentioned, the co-chair of the Patient Community Advisory Committee. I am also the Senior Director of Provincial Programs and Partnerships with the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario. Further, I am a social worker and I've worked together with families who have been impacted by dementia from pre-diagnosis all the way through to advanced care planning and end of life. And most importantly, I am a granddaughter to a beautiful grandma pictured here who lived with dementia for over 10 years before passing away in 2019. I'm also a granddaughter and niece to others in my family affected by Parkinson's disease. And I was a primary caregiver to my dad who passed away a few years ago from cancer. All this to say, it is immensely important to me to be a part of and affiliated with organizations, committees, and groups that strive to help those impacted by disease to live their best lives possible. And one way to ensure that this occurs is to engage with those with lived experiences so that their voices are not only just heard, but that they guide us in all of the research and interventions that we undertake. As per the Canadian Institute of Health Research, patients bring the perspective as experts from their unique experience and knowledge gained through living with a condition or illness, as well as their experiences with treatment and the healthcare system. Involvement of patients in research increases its quality, and as healthcare providers utilize research evidence in their practice, it increases quality of care. Engaging patients in healthcare research makes research more accountable and transparent, provides new insights that could lead to innovative discoveries, and ensures that research is relevant to the patient concerns. The international experience with engaging citizens and patients in research has shown that involving them early in the design of studies, especially from the very early stages of planning, leads to better results. By encouraging a diversity of patients to tell their stories, new themes may emerge to guide research. Patients also gain many benefits through their involvement as well, including increased confidence and mastery of new skills, access to information that they can understand and use, and a feeling of accomplishment from contributing to research relevant to their needs. Similarly, the Patient Research Exchange, a network of members across the globe, is just one example of this larger movement of patient engagement. The Patient Research Exchange highlights that they believe strengthening the patient position in research and development will lead to new therapies which are more targeted to patient needs and better equipped with patient-relevant data. An effective patient research engagement will enable clinical decision makers to have better evidence bases to deliver patient-centered decisions together with the patient. Further, the Alzheimer's Society of Canada also speaks to the benefits of meaningful engagement and underscores the credibility and legitimacy that is afforded to the organization when they clearly demonstrate the active voice for the needs and interests of people with dementia, their families, and care partners. They too highlight that engagement also helps to identify gaps in services, or in this case, research, that may otherwise not have been identified or prioritized. Specific to Andre, one such way that patients and families are engaged is through the Patient and Community Advisory Committee, or the PCAC, whose mission is ultimately to improve and contribute to research into neurodegenerative diseases by representing the patient and advocacy voice. Members come together every 2 months, including people with lived experience, community partner organizations, including ALS Canada, the Alzheimer's Society of Ontario, Heart and Stroke, the MINT Memory Clinic, Parkinson's Canada, Andre researchers, along with others from Andre and the OBI team. PCAC member feedback is leveraged in several different ways, including to provide patient and advocacy organizations voice on Andre goals, new protocols, proposals, and plans for future research, to suggest ways to optimize and improve communication and knowledge translation events and materials, and to advise, guide, and support Andre on ways to improve government and funding advocacy for neurodegeneration in general, and specifically for Andre's work. The PCAC plays an important role in each of Andre's research phases: the planning phase, the action phase, and the sharing phase. For the planning phase, it is imperative to understand what potential research is perceived as a priority by those it is intended to ultimately impact. For example, does the research help with greater independence or greater levels of safety? Will it help to identify progression and subsequent intervention to live better? Will it identify emerging symptoms that can be proactively addressed? For the action phase, how can the research be conducted to make the process as easy as possible for the participants living with neurodegenerative diseases? What do the assessments, the exams, and testing protocols look like? And how can, for example, the frequency and intrusiveness be mitigated? What should recruitment look like? For the sharing phase, what is the best way to communicate during the course of research and afterwards so that it can be easily understood and also shared with families? What resources can be helpful to take home to contemplate instructions or next steps, or to absorb or generate questions around results? So what does this mean in practice? I will use aims 2 and 4 to illustrate how the PCAC has been engaged. For aim 2 work, the Remind Enhanced studies, the PCAC has supported study design, piloting, recruitment, outreach, as well as knowledge translation and impact study protocols. For example, for recruitment, questions that the PCAC brainstormed around included: what can be done to increase enrollment that is not already underway, and what support groups should be reached out to? In keeping, recruitment posters were shared with the PCAC to review the readability, the content, and formatting, ultimately to optimize the likelihood and that potential participants would respond to the participation ask. The PCAC also provided suggested edits to the HANDS team for the feedback report that had been developed for the study. The report had originally been reviewed for the Remind study and evolved to encompass feedback received. Areas probed included the volume and type of information, readability of the report, and overall format, layout, and organization. An example of a question was such as, are the outcomes presented actually meaningful? Could this report be read and consumed by someone living with neurodegenerative disease and someone within their circle of care? Does the text support the visuals, and so forth? As Susan alluded to earlier, aim 4 researchers have also engaged with the PCAC to seek the provision of ideas for future research questions, including questions that are most impactful for patients and care partners. Insights were also gathered about current issues in the healthcare system, for example, patient and care partner perspectives on the shift to virtual care during COVID-19. Questions such as, what has been your experience with virtual care during COVID-19? What benefits and challenges have you experienced? Have you had difficulties in receiving in-person care if needed? And what suggestions do you have for research have been asked? The PCAC also helps to interpret study findings and how they are presented. Another question provided included something like, what units of geography resonate with you when providing the information back to the public, so that there is the ensuring of the relevance and ease of communication. The PCAC also contributes to the amplification of the voice of Andre in other ways. So for example, the PCAC member Larry spoke about his first 10 years of living with Parkinson's disease at the 2021 Andre Study Community Engagement Day. PCAC member Shelley and researcher Dr. Andrew Lim participated in OBI's public talk, Sleep and Brain Health. As part of Discovery Starts With You, Shelley also penned a blog that has been posted to social media that reflects how volunteering provides benefits to the volunteers themselves in an effort to increase recruitment. PCAC co-chair Jill and Rick were featured in the Dementia Dialogue podcast, Changing Roles in Dementia Research. Rick also presented to frontline Alzheimer's Society staff across the province regarding the HANDS study, and the staff were provided all of the necessary recruitment information to share with their clients when providing direct support. Other members have blogs in which they promote Andre to their networks. And of course, Andre messaging, including recruitment, is promoted through the social media and newsletters of partner organizations. So it is my hope that the details I've shared with you today about the PCAC have illustrated the value and the benefit of engaging with lived experience at every stage of research. Speaking on behalf of the members of the PCAC, I know that we are more than happy to be consulted with to share our insights, knowing that together, amazing life-changing research outcomes are possible. So thank you again.